Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us today for the Caregiver Panel. My name is Wendy Burke, and I am a clinical social worker. I am one of the facilitators for the Monmouth Ocean County Brain Tumor Support Group, in addition to being the social worker for the David S. Zacchi Brain Tumor Center. Although what makes, I think, it more important, the reason why I'm here, is because I was also a caregiver. And the reason I got involved in working with people with brain tumors was because my husband was diagnosed at the age of 29 with a very aggressive brain tumor. So I have been on both sides, professionally and certainly in your shoes, and I've actually attended this conference many years ago. And so I have a very near and dear spot in my heart for all of you and understand the paths that you're taking. And I think it's an important issue, and I'm glad to know that you've waited till the end of the day. I know it's been a long day and filled with a lot of emotions, but I'm happy that you're here. And I'd like to think of this as our little room where what we say in here will stay in this room. And it's so important for caregivers to be able to express themselves and have an outlet. I think that's really one of the only ways that caregivers can get through such difficult times that they're going through. And while I believe on the other side of the wall, they have a panel of people who are dealing with the brain tumors, and certainly we know how difficult that task is. But in my own personal experience and in also the people that I've worked with, I know how difficult it is to be that caregiver, because in some ways you're the one dealing with the diagnosis and perhaps taking care of a lot of the logistics, in addition to loving somebody and being that physical person who needs to be always on. And so I recognize that. And so I'd like to make this a little informal. We have two speakers who are willing to share their stories because, as the title of this conference indicates, you are not alone. And I know sometimes as a caregiver, when you're going through so many difficult things in the confines of your home, you feel like the rest of the world is moving on and everybody else has these very normal, happy lives, and you're dealing with sometimes things that aren't always so happy. And so I think the fact that this room is filled the way it is proof that you are not alone. And so we're going to start with Megan, who will share her story of what her journey has been.
Hello. I know some of the faces here, others are new. But my name is Megan. I am married to my husband, Victor. He has a brain tumor. He was diagnosed in 2006. He had surgery in 2006. He had a reoccurrence November. This will be a year coming up this November. He had surgery again. So I've been through this more times than most. I've been with my husband for 14 years. So the first time around, they said the complications could be that he doesn't even know who you are. He may not be able to speak. Those were all tough things to get through. When he got through them, he just fine. The second time around, they said, you have a 3-month-old baby that he may never hold again. So that was tough. And the day after surgery, he was just fine, and he was able to hold our baby again. So sometimes they give you worst case scenario, and they're not always right. So I'm here to hopefully give everyone a little bit of hope.
Good afternoon. My name is Charlie Sullivan. My wife, Mary Ellen, was first diagnosed in February of '98 when my youngest daughter, who's in the audience, Emily, was 6 months old. I also have an older daughter that was 4 at the time. My wife had a recurrence in 2001. She found out over the summer of 2001, and she went in for surgery again. Stand by. October of 2001. She had surgery and she had chemo treatments. And just recently, it's been 12 years since she had an issue with her tumor, but there's a couple more things that she went through, but she's her tumor has come back, and Actually, she's going in for surgery in 2 weeks. Something about Mary Ellen. My wife is one of the toughest people you're ever going to meet. We met years ago. I've been married for, 23 years. That's a math question. 23 years. And my wife's my best friend. And to see her go through some of these things, she actually lost her sister. Her sister was diagnosed 2 years after Mary Ellen. Mary Ellen's sister died. She had GBM, so she lived for about 3 years. So Mary Ellen was, she was diagnosed in '98. Her sister was diagnosed in January 2000, and we lost Nancy in 2004. After my wife's second surgery, she was having seizures, so she went to a doctor to talk about her seizures, and she had recently been on anti-seizure medicine. But she's been a member of the Central New Jersey Brain Tumor Support Group, which has been a great place to go, to sit, and to listen, and to talk to people. I mean, we're talking now in this room, but these are people that my wife and I and my kids have been a part of, running marathons, Sunday morning, getting up very early, go down the shore and freeze. But it's really been a good experience having these people in our lives, because we're lucky in my life that we have a close family. I'm a retired police officer, so I know what tough is. I've seen tough things happen to people, but we have a close family, and I'm be happy to answer any questions I can, because you really, nobody gets to do this by themselves. I learned a long time ago that you don't have, when it comes to help, you don't want people to help you because you don't want to relive or recur what has happened to you. You put up a tough front, but there are people who are hurting, friends of yours, family members. And it's one thing I've learned over the years, and I hope this resonates with people, is you have to let people help you, because your neighbors and your friends are they're in this almost the same amount of pain as you, because if you're a good person, you care for people, well, they care for you. So that's one thing I had to learn over the years, to let people help me, and that was just part of it. But like I say, I'm here to answer any questions you have, and thanks for your time.
Does anybody from the audience want to share a little bit about their story? I think, like I said, I think the room's small enough that we can sort of make this bigger than just the 2 or 3 of us.
I will. My wife had an anaplastic astrocytoma. She was designated, told in '04. And we went to New York Presbyterian, and she had her operation up there in '04. And she was given chemo and Timidor. And she took the Timidor for 6 years. And then she had to stop because her blood level was down so low that they couldn't do it anymore. And we went to a hematologist, and she got Procrid for 2 years, or almost 2 years. And then last year, because it wasn't waking up the bone marrow, we took her back up to New York Presbyterian, and they put her in a test clinical test. She went for 3 months, and then she died. And I think that she had a good 5 years from the time that they took the tumor out. She still had residue from the original cancer, but I think she could have stopped the Timidor maybe after 2 years. But she didn't. We didn't. The oncologist said it's what is keeping the cancer away, and it did. It never did come back, but her bone marrow died because of the Timidor.
How often did she have scans? How often did she have scans? How often did she have scans?
Every 2 months. Every 2 months for 8 years. And we could have had the same 2 months period and not had the Timidor. And maybe she would have lasted longer. But,
Peter, it sounds like, there's always that what if.
yeah.
There's always that what if, and maybe we could have, and did we do the right things, and did we go to the doctor, the right doctor? And that's something that's hard when you look back and these thoughts go through your mind. And I know for a lot of caregivers, the internet's a wonderful thing, but it's also a tough thing because there's so much information out there. And I know there's a whole lot of well-meaning people who, might send you, an article that shows up and it's like, oh my God, here's the cure for a brain tumor. And all these other things, which, when I was going through it almost became very overwhelming. Like it was helpful to have people looking out for you, but not really doing the legwork, just giving you more information to follow up on. And I don't know if any of you have similar situations where you're smiling. Is there something? I'm sure everybody's got a story about that. Would you like to share yours?
Oh, no, I was just listening and thinking after a while, I just don't want to look anymore.
Yeah. Right. No, and it becomes that overwhelming, sense. And then, like you said, Peter, it's, oh, well, what if we didn't go to the right doctor, or maybe I didn't do enough research? And so it's just another aspect of how tough it is to be the caregiver, and so much of that responsibility, in my experience, really falls on you. That it's, the person who's dealing with the brain tumor to sort of get better, and that's a real important job. But some of that other stuff then falls on the caregivers, right? Is there anything? I saw you, Megan, were agreeing. Is that? Yeah. Is there anything you want to add?
I can sympathize with the, I found the cure on the internet, Oh, you should check out this website, or did you see this doctor? We stayed local with the doctor that we went to, and a lot of people were very upset with me for that. Oh, well, New York's in our backyard, and we have some of the best doctors there, and you should have gone to New York. You're right. Maybe I should have gone to New York, but I didn't. I chose to go here. So, and it's hard because people mean well, but sometimes they don't say the right thing, or they don't know how to say it, or they want to help you, and they don't know how to help you the way, maybe you would like to be helped. And I think sometimes we as caregivers have to tell people, this is what I need from you. And then other times we have to say, please don't do that. Please don't tell me I made a wrong choice. I've been really working hard at making sure that I tried to make the right choice, or I did my research, and this is the decision that worked for us. Maybe you don't like that decision, but that's what worked for us at this time. And maybe if things were different, or if this was a different time, we would have chosen a different path. But at this time, this is what we chose, and sometimes being that specific with people is a good thing. It's hard to ask for help. It's hard to ask for things, or sometimes people say, anything you need, let me know. And they mean it, but you don't want to pick up the phone. You're so tired from running here and there and everywhere. You don't pick up the phone and say, hey, I really could use, dinner tonight, or I really could use someone to pick the baby up, or all these other little things that come up. And I think someone had told me the best thing you can do is come up with a schedule. Come up with a schedule and say, okay, these are where we have openings. I really could use someone to pick the baby up on Tuesday at 3. I really could use someone to help me start dinner at 5 on Thursday. And people will step up to the plate and they will help out because they do really genuinely want to help you if they say anything you need. But then sometimes too, you feel awkward saying like, I really could use someone to chop up a pepper and throw it in a pan for me at 5 o'clock on Thursday. But if you just kind of throw it out there, people will respond. It just it's tough. I think a lot of things fall on the caregiver. We're the ones that take the brunt of everything. We take the brunt of the financial responsibility as well as just the responsibility of everything in general. We're the ones that are reminding our patient like to take their medicine, or that remember we have an MRI scheduled or a doctor's appointment. We're the ones coordinating everything and going through everything. And a lot of times that's difficult because we are the people putting all the behind the scenes stuff together that people don't realize. People say, oh man, you really have it all together. Well, it doesn't just start that way in the morning. There is some planning that you have to do, and there is some things that you have to go through. And we're also the fallback on when people are upset, or if the person you're caring for is upset over something, you're the one that deals with the brunt of everything, from the all the emotions to everything. That's true. It falls on our shoulders. So sometimes it's hard. Sometimes you need to scream or laugh or cry about it. And, sometimes what makes us cry today or makes us upset today over something that's going on 6 months from now, you can really laugh about. My husband and I joke all the time that right before he was diagnosed, we now know that he had lost his job because he couldn't concentrate because he had a really large brain tumor. At the time, we didn't know that, We just thought, what the heck is wrong with him, He was going on a job interview in Jersey City, and he lived in Elizabeth. That's a 15-minute drive, for people that aren't familiar. Well, he ended up in Hershey, Pennsylvania. Hershey, Pennsylvania. And I thought, when you saw lampposts that looked like Hershey Kisses, did you not realize you weren't in Jersey City? What was the clue? And, now we can laugh about it, and we really laugh about it, But at the time, I could have spit buttons. I was so mad. I'm like, when you realize 3 hours had gone by and you're not where you're supposed to be, what was your clue, And he's not good with directions to begin with, so that's just, but we can laugh about it now. At the time we're going through it, I must have broken the 3 phones because stop and ask for directions, pull over, stop driving, but and things do get better. They do get better, and you can laugh through a lot of the sadness and a lot of the stuff that's going on. And I think it's important to have a sense of humor about things because it's hard. It's hard, and what makes and you can't get overstressed either. You can't think, okay, well, we're going to have a busy month coming up with the holidays, and how are we going to get through? You're going to get through. So don't stress too much about the things way out there. Just focus on this week, today, what's going on, and you just kind of go step by step and you get through it.
May I just say one thing? I am no longer a caregiver. My sister-in-law was diagnosed with a GBM back in '96, and she was in a clinical trial, and she had 2.5 wonderful years of quality life. My husband, his sister he was diagnosed with a GBM last July. He passed away in 1 month after diagnosis. As you said, I just want to assure everyone, ask for help. You were saying about making a list. You personally might not want to make the list. Find a friend, find a neighbor. They'll gladly do it for you. They'll make a list. They'll go through the neighborhood to see who can make what this night, what that night. And it does not hurt to ask for help. And memories, greatest thing. start making them now, start collecting them now. It really helps you. It helps you get through an awful lot. But I don't mean to turn this into a,
Look, sometimes it's sad.
I don't
You know?
mean sad, but I need a support group for and after.
Yeah.
Go to support groups. They really and truly do help you.
And we're lucky in New Jersey that we, whether you're up north. We're lucky that, whether you live up north or more, well, I guess this is not north, but whether you live central or more southern in Monmouth and Ocean, that you have some very wonderful support groups. And, more than support groups, and I think you sort of mentioned that, it's really like family. And it's people who understand what it is that you're going through. And while everybody might have a different tumor or a different story, there's that underlying understanding that each person has. And, there's beautiful things that have come out of the group that Nancy started, and they're just wonderful. So I do encourage that. And, and I also do run a group for people who've lost their spouse to a brain tumor. So, and there's a lot of, similar types of sharing and bonding that occurs with that. But, Megan, I just wanted to touch back on a few things that you said, and I think, thank you, Carol, for sort of echoing them. The first one that really caught my attention was how you modeled so nicely what to say when people continue to offer their opinions or their advice or their you should and you should, and then like what Peter started off with. I think people are generally well-meaning, but they don't recognize that then it leaves you to have some of that doubt, and especially when things don't work out that well, especially it sits on you. And so I thought that what Megan said was wonderful of sort of, stating, the facts and stating that this was your choice and that this is what you're comfortable with, and moving on. And then the other thing, like Carol said, is about asking for help. And so many caregivers have such a struggle with that. And, and I always try to turn it around a little bit, that if you were the one, that had a friend who had a family member, a loved one going through an illness, how would you feel if somebody let you help? And we always say, oh my God, if there's anything you need, please let me know. But imagine how good you would feel if you knew that you can pick up somebody's child or make a meal or take out their garbage or mow their lawn or shovel the snow or whatever it is. Think of how good that would make you feel. And I'm sure many of you, even though you're dealing with your own issues, would still go out of your way today if somebody asked you for something. And I think if you sort of put yourself on the other side and you know how good it makes you feel to help, that you're letting somebody help you and that you might be the one receiving the help, but you're sort of helping them too, because what I've found is that people don't know what to do when their friend, their neighbor, somebody that they know is going through a difficult time. They want to do something, but they just don't know what to do. They don't often know what to say. But if you can give them something concrete that they can physically do, it'll really make them feel good.
It's really giving a gift to them.
Yeah. No, it's absolutely right. And so so many people are like, oh my God, like I hate to ask, but you're really helping them out because they feel very helpless and, that they want to be able to do something just like you would want to help somebody else.
9 out of 10 times they ask you, what can I do? And you give them something.
Something specific.
Right, and it's funny because I've learned that from being a caregiver, and so many times I'll catch myself saying, if there's anything you need, and then I'm like, no, wait, let me do this,
What
because
night can I bring dinner?
right, exactly, and dinner always works, dinner, you can't go wrong with dinner.
Or when can I come and do a little laundry?
Right.
There's no secrets in the community. People know, that you have children that belong to different sporting teams, or they have activities, or if you have a pet, a dog has to be walked, or that you can't cook. It's like I was told a long time ago from a friend of mine, if you don't know what the right thing is, I can't tell you what it is. You know, I just show up. I'm that annoying neighbor sometimes. I just show up. With stuff. Like, you know, just show up. I went to the store. I know you like this. I bought it for you. Or I made this because I have a neighbor of mine, you know, that loves food from Kelly's down Neptune. So every time I go to, you know, if I want to get a Reuben, I buy her a Reuben. I bring it back. Because, her stuff. So she likes it, so I do it. It doesn't take anything. No effort at all.
I like Rubens also.
Yeah. Okay. I'll be taking the card now. But you know, I was just saying about your situation. It's like I used to say, my shoes are right at the door. You want to wear my shoes? You go ahead, but you take it all. You want to take the good and the bad. You take it all. I said, and nobody ever tells you you're doing a great job. Well, I'm telling you, you did a great job because you know what? You were there for her, and it's a very tough thing. Nobody knows how it feels. That they don't know, and you know, and you don't want to. People will say, "Oh, how you doing? How are you doing?" You know, and you never give them the honest answer because you don't want to do that. You don't want to make somebody's day bad. You know, but you give them tidbits of the positives. You know, you change the subject. You talk about something. I mean, it's a defense mechanism, yes, but I'm the glass is half full type of guy. So I'm always going to give you the positive. But when it comes to, like, you know, neighbors helping you, it's like, and believe me, you know, this will be our third time. So I've seen the list, the neighbors, and it's kind of overwhelming because you reap what you sow. You know, you see a list, and the list is long, and it's nice to see that, but it's also tough too. So, but I'm like the annoying neighbor who shows up with stuff. You know, if I go to Pastos's, I bring back raviolis to Staten Island. If I'm from Staten Island, I do that, you know, because I do that.
That's because you're from Staten Island.
Right, I know, but that's what you do, you know. It's like, you know, that's what you do. That's what you do.
You know, both of you touched on something about people and their well-meaningness, and I guess I wanted to throw it out and maybe have a little bit of fun because I know everybody's got a story of the stupidest thing somebody has said to them. Like a well-meaning friend, neighbor, family member. You go ahead.
Yeah, we had, being Italian, my husband's laying there and family came in and said, well, he's not eating. Now, that was gonna make him survive.
Yeah.
Because he did not eat. So I had to be smart and stick my finger in that thing of spaghetti sauce and go, there, now he's eating.
Yeah.
But they do say strange things and hurtful things sometimes, and you'll get over it. You know, like you said, this is what is right for us. And then you learn that you don't even have to explain yourself.
It's true. You
don't
kind of get
have
them
to-
to shut up. With
you
it.
just-
It's not really a nice word, but
The more you
it's
explain,
true. The more
the
you.
deeper you get yourself.
That's right. Yeah. So sometimes.
Yeah, and it gets you thinking.
It does. You know, it's like when you have someone that you really don't want at your house and they come to your house and you know, and you say, well, here at my house, this is what we do. It's kind of the same concept. It's just a different spin on it. So instead of saying, while you're here, you must follow my rules at my house. It's the same spin, you know. Well, this was what was right for us at this time, and this is what worked. And you do get people to kind of back off once you know you hear, and it's hard because it does put that thought in your head as a caregiver. Did I make the right decision? You know, should I have looked further? Well, you know, after you've looked at 3 doctors and 6 doctors and 8 doctors, you know, you're just making yourself crazy. You know, you have made the right decision. You did do the right thing, and you have to believe because you do have the best intentions. Because this is you're caring for that person. You wouldn't harm them intentionally. You know, you did make the best decision. So, and you have to, and sometimes we do have to pat ourselves on the back, or we do have to really maybe say it over and over and over again until we believe the words that are coming out of our mouths. But it's not always easy, but you do sometimes have to throw out there like, they ate. Did you see? And it's not always easy, but yeah.
You know, yeah, go ahead.
Hi. I just wanted to throw in a ploy for I know for myself, being a caregiver full-time for 7 years, and having 3 brain surgeries on my husband and 2 surgeries on myself, that it is so imperative for me to take time for myself. And I'm saying this because I don't do it well. And a lot of times I'll find myself very stressed and very tired and cranky and irritable and snap at her, who is my left-hand helper. She is wonderful to have at home, and yet I can be irritable and restless and nasty because I'm tired. And people have told me from the very beginning of the whole brain tumor thing, from the day he was diagnosed, don't be afraid to ask for help. Like you said, make a list. I have to get past just asking because it's so hard for me to do. I can ask her. She told me last weekend, there's a conference going on. I know you want to go. Go, go, go. From 10 o'clock in the morning, she was saying to me, go. I didn't go until 3:30 in the afternoon, but I did go. And then I went the next day for like 2 talks. And I realized, you know, I have to do more of that for myself, because if I don't, I'll burn out.
Mhm.
And what is your name?
Peggy.
Peggy. Thank you. I was actually, we're running late with timing, and so what I did want to do, Peggy, and so thank you for making that great point, is sort of end on more of a positive note, in the sense that what can caregivers do to make them feel better? Let's walk out of this room with one tip from each of us, if somebody has something to share. What has worked for you? What do you do that gets you to be energized? Because it is a very tiring task. And, you know, you've heard, I'm sure, so many times, if you don't care for yourself, you're not going to be a good caregiver. But it's very, very hard for a caregiver to leave the person that they love who needs care and do something without them feeling guilty or selfish or whatnot. And yet, as much as intellectually you know that it's important, I think it's okay to maybe give yourself that permission. And so I'd like to, if anybody has some suggestions, and I'll rely on the panel a little bit as well, but what is that one thing that maybe we can take away and that could help us get through the day? What's that one thing, whether it's an hour, to help us through the other 23 hours in the day? And I will say, for me, it was some type of exercise. It was taking a walk. It was getting outside. It was connecting to nature. Go ahead, Charlie.
I think it's what does it for me is I have 2 girls, and I'm very proud of them. So when I pick up my daughter Emily at school, I enjoy actually going to pick her up and to find out how her day was. The measure for me is to see how my girls have grown up through all this, because they've grown up with the mom that's had cancer their whole lives. They'd never known her not having cancer, and to see that they survive and do great things, you know, in our community. They play sports and they do well in school. That's it for me. That's if I had to hang my hat on anything, it's a father's pride that I raised them right, and they made contributions to the community every day. But when I go to pick her up in school, that does it for me. You know, I was a coach. You know, I have friends of mine who travel and they play golf and all these different things. I'm like, you know, I go to Giant games too. That's not a bad thing. But the thing is, I don't do those things. My thing is I'm a family guy. Me going in the backyard and cooking a nice dinner and having a conversation with my kids, that does it for me. Oh, Emily?
I'm his daughter, and I'm his youngest. My sister Megan is 4 years older, and one of my things is whenever my sister comes home and we're all together, we always listen to like the weirdest songs in the car, and we like car dance. And that may sound bizarre, but whenever I'm in a bad mood or like I'm really like upset about it, I listen to like these songs. I made a playlist for my mom for like all these Spider songs, and then I also have like a CD of songs that I made for my mom that we always car dance to, like Sexy and You Know It, or like or like Raise Your Glass, or like something, or like those songs. And like those like memories and stuff like that always get me through, and I always like dance around, and then my mom hears it, and then she comes in and we both dance together, and it always makes me feel better because I know it's like she's still the same person and she's doing just as fine. The only problem is the brain. And so she's still the same person no matter what happens.
Does anybody else have something that makes them feel good, helps them cope? Yeah.
Well, my wife's a long-term survivor, 25 years, and what gets me through is I get a break once a week. I go back to work once a week. I had retired last year. I was lucky that I was able to work all the years supporting the family. But the best times are when we're together with my two girls. They're grown. And I have two granddaughters. And I thought we'd see that. Excuse me. And it's just really difficult. Thank you.
Doesn't get easier, huh?
No, it just keeps getting harder.
Yeah.
And since it came back a year and a half ago, it doesn't stop. It just keeps progressing and progressing. A second surgery, a second round of radiation, 3 different chemo treatments. And it just keeps progressing. And she's at the point of making a decision this week whether she continues or doesn't. So it's oh wow. And I never sought help until recently. I go to counseling and cancer care. But well, my kids are going for counseling. They're doing better than I am, I think. But, they've been wonderful. They don't live near. They live 50 miles and 100 miles away. So the younger one's 50 miles. She's single. She works in the city, but she comes out once a week, about once every 7 or 8 days for a day or 2, sometimes 3 days, to just be with her mom. And the other one has 2 little kids and 100 miles, and it's not as easy, but she comes every couple of 2-3 weeks for a few days. And it's really tough. Everything you guys were saying, friends and neighbors and people trying to help, and most of the times I have no idea how to tell them to help, so I wind up doing it myself.
I can certainly sympathize with that. I really can. And having a 3-month-old when my husband had the last surgery, it was rough. And I can remember crying because my neighbor pulled the weeds for me. And I didn't know how to thank her. And I was so happy that I didn't have to, that was like one last thing I didn't have to do, you know. And I think we do rely on the people we rely on, and we value them, and sometimes we feel like, oh, but how do we ask, or how do we say, you don't know where to begin it. And
same things were asked to offer to us. Tell me, we'll do anything, what can we do? But you don't know what to say.
You don't, and I get it. And I can remember sitting here and this one girl telling me, well, I go and I play tennis, and I thought, she's got to be freaking kidding me. I don't have time to tie my shoes sometimes, and she wants me to go play tennis at 5 a.m. She's crazy, you know. But there is some sense to it. We really do need to make some time for ourselves, and even if that is 5-minute drive in the car dancing, best idea ever, you know. No, we have to do these things. We do, and you know, sometimes we're not always so quick to be on the computer. But if you can say to one person, you know what, do me a favor, come up with a list of things that you think would help me, and send it out or ask for people. Because I can't tell you how to help me, but I can tell you that I probably do need help with some things.
Like people ask I'll offer, why don't I come over with my wife and you and I will go out for a meal, or to get a drink, whatever, just to
Right.
get away, change your pace. And you know, my wife and their friends. And my wife will stay with your wife, and then I'll mention it to my wife, and she'll go, no,
Yeah.
you're the caregiver. You got it easy. What are you complaining about?
Well, okay, so this is what you have to do, because I've been in your shoes. You can't tell her that they're coming over until they're coming over.
I've done that a couple.
You can't. That's what you have to do. And then when the doorbell rings and she's mad, this is what you have to say. Moving on. Moving on. That's the key word. Moving on. So when she starts getting upset that these people are here and I didn't do my makeup and the house is a mess, and this is what's going on in her head. I'm telling you, because I'm that crazy person and these thoughts are going on in my head. You have to tell her, moving on. They're here. We're going to enjoy their time. They're here now. So and then when they're here, does she have a good time? Of course, she enjoys it. It's because she's thinking of all these things in her head, that the garbage is full and I have to take that out, and there's crumbs on the floor that I didn't get to, and the bathroom could be cleaner than it is right now. This is all the things that are going on in her head, and this is not, but she will have a good time. So you just have to not tell her, have it happen. And then you know she'll enjoy it. She'll enjoy it. She'll have fun. And then after you say, wasn't that great? We should do that again. And then plan it when she says yes. And then when she says no, then you have to come up with another way to do the same thing. And when she gets upset and she keeps, getting upset and kind of harping on the same thing, and all it does is drain you of your energy and get you upset, you have to find that key word, whether it's moving on or whether it's, I've had enough for now, or we'll revisit this at another time, or whatever word works for you and for her. That's the word that it needs to be, and that's how it's got to have to be, because you need it for you too. She doesn't realize that, because what she's telling you is, I'm the one going through this, and she's right. She's the one going through it, but you're the one holding her hand, going through it with her. But she doesn't always see that. And that's how they are. They don't always see that we're the ones going through it too. No.
I said, I'm tired. She goes, what are you tired about?
What are you tired about? And I get that. I'm the one who did this, and this today. What are you tired for? No, well, you're tired. You're emotionally tired. You're physically tired. It's draining because everything falls onto your shoulders. But you do have to make time for you, and you do have to make time for, as a couple to do things. And if you know that she's not going to want to do them, but you want to do them, just schedule them. Don't write it on the calendar. Don't put it where she can see and cancel and back out last minute. You just call your buddy and you say, hey, come over for dinner. We're going to order some pizzas. We're going to watch the Giants game. This is how it's going to be. And that's how it's going to have to be. And she will love it when it's going on. And she won't have time.
I have to cut you off because we're stuck with time. The other thing I will leave you with, though, is that as much as you perhaps need a change, I think it's helpful for the people that you care for to also have a change of scenery and not have it always be you there. Anyway, the next session is starting, so we need to get going. But I just want to say thank you to everybody, certainly to Megan and to Charlie for sitting up here and sharing their stories, and for all of the participation that we had. And it's not easy, but I'm glad that you were able to share and recognize that this is your safe place to do that. And please take some of the advice and suggestions that came out here today and find time for yourself and be okay to ask and just sort of, be able to speak up for what you are doing and be comfortable and confident in your decisions, because the fact that you're here, you took a day off on a Saturday, it's a beautiful day, you're doing the right thing by the people that you love, and just know that you need to care for yourself to be able to care for them. Thank you.